Long ago, in a small village nestled in Africa, there lived a humble farmer named Kwame. Kwame was known for his relentless labor, working tirelessly in the fields from dawn till dusk. Despite his ceaseless efforts, his harvests were always insufficient. His crops would often wither under the harsh sun, or drown in the heavy rains that frequently struck the village. Kwame's clothes were worn and ragged, and his home was a modest mud hut. He rarely had enough food to fill his belly, and when he did, it was usually just maize and yams. Still, despite the overwhelming hardships, Kwame was beloved by his fellow villagers for his boundless generosity. Whether his neighbors needed help fetching water or repairing fences, Kwame was the first to offer assistance, even though his own land was struggling. Every night, Kwame would sit on a wobbly stool outside his hut, staring at the stars above, questioning whether the gods had forgotten him. One evening, as he sat under the fading light of the setting sun, a deep sense of hopelessness settled within him. He thought about how the wealthy chiefs in the village seemed to have everything they desired, while the poor like him toiled endlessly for so little. "Is this truly all life has to offer me?" he muttered to himself, the weight of his burdens pressing down on him. The very next day, as Kwame made his way home from his barren field, something extraordinary caught his eye. Beneath the shade of a tall baobab tree, half buried in the earth, was a peculiar calabash. Its surface was smooth and polished, gleaming in the sunlight, even though no water was nearby. Intrigued, Kwame knelt down and carefully pulled the calabash free from the ground. As he held the calabash in his hands, a voice, soft yet clear, echoed from within. "Do not fear, Kwame," the voice said, making him stagger backward in shock. His heart pounded in his chest. "Who speaks to me?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I am the spirit of this calabash," replied the voice. "I have watched over your village for centuries, and because you are a man of pure heart, I will grant you 3 wishes. But be warned, Kwame, each wish comes with a condition. If you act with greed or selfishness, the blessings will turn to curses." Kwame's eyes widened. Could this be real? Was this his chance to escape his life of poverty? Yet the warnings from the calabash echoed in his mind, and a chill ran down his spine. He hesitated, then asked, "What must I do to earn these wishes?" "The conditions will be revealed when the time is right," the calabash answered. Torn between excitement and fear, Kwame carried the talking calabash back to his hut. That night he lay awake on his straw mat, staring at the ceiling and contemplating his options. Should he wish for wealth, fertile fields, or something even more significant? The possibilities swirled in his mind until exhaustion finally took over. The next morning, with the calabash resting on his table, Kwame spoke his first wish aloud. "I wish for my land to be fertile and for my crops to grow tall and strong." The calabash hummed for a moment. Then the voice spoke again. "Your wish is granted, Kwame. But remember, you must share half of your harvest with the poorest in the village." Kwame, elated, agreed without hesitation. True to the calabash's words, within weeks Kwame's fields flourished. His maize grew higher than any in the village, and his yams became so large that it took 2 people to carry them. Neighbors came to marvel at his good fortune, and soon he became the talk of the village. For the first time in his life, he felt what it was like to be prosperous. But he didn't forget his promise. Kwame vowed to share his bounty with the villagers in need. His generosity won him admiration, and people sought his counsel. However, as time passed, Kwame began to notice a shift in himself. He overheard whispers of jealousy from the villagers, and although he had more than enough, the idea of giving half of his harvest started to weigh heavily on him. "Why should I give away so much?" he thought. "I work so hard, yet these people just take from me as though it's their right." This thought became more persistent as harvest season approached. While his storehouses were full, the temptation to keep the best produce for himself began to gnaw at him. "It's not fair," he grumbled to himself. "I should enjoy the fruits of my labor." That night, as Kwame lay in bed, he tossed and turned, thinking of the harvest he had to give away. The voice of the calabash echoed in his mind. Greed will turn blessings into curses. Still, Kwame couldn't rid himself of the resentment. The next morning, he decided to keep the larger portion of his harvest for himself and give only a small share to the poorest villagers. His hand trembled as he did so, but deep down he knew it was wrong. The following day, a strange and unexpected event occurred. A terrible drought struck the village, but it only affected Kwame's land. While the other villagers still had enough water, Kwame's fields became dry and cracked. His crops withered, as if they had never been green. He tried watering them, but nothing could revive the once thriving plants. Desperate, Kwame turned to the calabash. "Please, I need help. My crops are dying," he cried, his voice shaking. The calabash spoke softly. "You have broken your promises, Kwame. Greed has darkened your heart, and now you face the consequences." Kwame fell to his knees, heart heavy with regret. "I'm sorry. I should have kept my word. Please give me another chance." The calabash remained silent for a long time before responding. "You still have 2 wishes left, Kwame. But beware. Each decision you make from now on will be even more challenging than the last." Kwame hesitated, but knew he had no choice. His crops were his livelihood. "For my second wish, I want wealth. Wealth in abundance so I never have to farm again," Kwame wished. The calabash granted his wish. The next day, a stranger appeared at Kwame's door, carrying a sack of gold coins, claiming to pay an old debt owed to Kwame's family. With more wealth than he had ever dreamed of, Kwame built a grand house and no longer needed to work the fields. The villagers marveled at his sudden fortune, but once again, temptation crept in. "Why shouldn't I buy fine clothes, feast on the best food? I've earned this wealth. I've worked for it." One evening, after hosting a lavish banquet for the village chiefs, Kwame decided to keep the remaining gold to himself. He ignored the calabash's warning, convincing himself that a little indulgence wouldn't hurt. The next morning, when Kwame awoke, he was shocked to find that every coin had vanished. His magnificent house crumbled into dust, leaving him standing alone amidst the ruins, as poor as he had been before. Kwame's heart sank. He had used up 2 wishes, and now the weight of his decisions pressed heavily upon him. With only 1 wish left, he realized the gravity of what was at stake. His integrity, his humanity, and perhaps even his soul hung in the balance. Kwame knew he had to be cautious with his final wish, but he also knew he could not undo what had already been done. After much thought, Kwame decided that his final wish would be for the benefit of others. "I wish for health for Amina's children, and for all the children of this village to be healthy, strong, and free from illness," Kwame whispered. The calabash went silent for a moment, and then the voice spoke again. "Your wish is granted, but remember, Kwame, every wish carries a consequence. Kwame watched in awe as Amina's children, once frail and sickly, now played joyfully in the rain. They had been healed. While the villagers praised Kwame for his kindness, strange occurrences began to unfold. Livestock began to fall ill, and the crops that had been flourishing started to wither. The rains flooded the fields, while other days brought scorching droughts. The villagers began whispering that Kwame's wish was the cause of these misfortunes. Kwame realized that although the Calabash had granted his wish, something had been taken in return. The balance of life had been disrupted. Desperate to undo the damage, Kwame returned to the baobab tree, where he had first found the Calabash. He held the object in his hand, feeling the weight of it as though it were the heaviest burden in the world. "Calabash," Kwame pleaded, "you have taken enough. Please stop this madness. I wished for good, not for this suffering." But the Calabash remained silent. Kwame's heart sank. There was no way to undo his final wish. The Calabash had granted him 3 wishes, and now its power was spent. Kwame was left to face the consequences of his actions, just as the Calabash had warned him. But Kwame knew that there was no easy path forward. He set out on a journey beyond the village to seek the wisdom of the ancient elders, hoping to find a way to restore balance. Though he didn't know what awaited him, Kwame understood one thing clearly. This was only the beginning of his journey. The true test of his integrity and humanity lay ahead, and it would require more than wishes to bring peace to the village.